Hello, my loves. My TBR pile is already growing rapidly, and I'm trying to get through everything as quickly as possible because I have so many thoughts. But today we are talking about The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This was one of my most anticipated books of last year, and I devoured it within a day when it came out. So let's talk about it. This video contains spoilers, obviously. Also, if you haven't read this yet and you don't want to be spoiled, just stop now. There's no need for you to keep watching. So now that we've established that this video has spoilers and that you are still here watching, even though I have probably ruined the ending for you already, let's begin. If you could only remember one thing from this video, let it be this. Do not let anyone convince you that you are born under an unlucky star. You were born under a lucky one, and you will live a life full of joy and wonder. And when you die, you will join the stars in the sky and become one of the constellations yourself. Addie LaRue is tired of her life in 19th century France and dreams of seeing the world. On her 19th birthday, she makes a deal with the immortal and enigmatic Henry to leave her village and explore Paris. Their bargain is simple. Henry will give Addie the ability to travel the world for the rest of her mortal life, but in exchange, she will never be remembered by anyone who knows her. With that, Addie goes out into the world and becomes a renowned artist. Falling in love with Luke, an antiquarian bookseller, Henry watches Addie's life from afar, yearning to be more than just the nameless god he's been for hundreds of years. He wants to be known, to have a place in the world again, and he believes that Addie can help him with that. What I really loved about this book is how the concept of immortality is explored, especially when you compare Addie's story to Henry's. Immortality seems like a blessing at first, an endless opportunity to experience all that life has to offer. However, it quickly becomes clear that it can also be a curse. As Addie travels the world, she begins to feel invisible, unwanted, and eventually just plain tired. She has witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the best and worst of humanity, and has seen too much death. She is exhausted and just wants to disappear. Henry, on the other hand, has been immortal for so long that he has forgotten what it's like to be human. He doesn't know how to connect with people or feel emotions. He's so desperate for someone to remember him that he even builds an entire museum dedicated to himself, which is sadly ironic considering that that's something Addie would never do. Even though they both struggle with their unique forms of immortality, neither of them realizes that the other even exists until they meet again in modern-day New York City. It is said that there is nothing new under the sun, and yet Addie has lived a life unlike any other. In her 300-year existence, she has seen wonders beyond imagination and experienced the highs and lows of human emotion. When we first meet her, she is feeling down, believing herself to be cursed and destined for a life alone. As she journeys through Europe, she experiences love, loss, joy, and tragedy. She finds beauty in art and music, solace in nature, and meaning in helping others. Through it all, she learns that the purpose of life is not to be immortal, but to be fully alive. When Addie meets Luke, a kind-hearted antiquarian bookseller, she falls in love for the first time in centuries. They share a deep connection and a passion for literature, and together they find happiness and fulfillment. As their relationship grows, Addie begins to believe that perhaps she is not as cursed as she thought. After all, she has found love and acceptance in Luke despite her immortality. But tragically, their happiness is short-lived, and Luke dies in a fire, leaving Addie heartbroken and alone once again. This loss shakes Addie to her core and makes her question the meaning of her existence. She feels as though she is cursed to never have true love or happiness, and she begins to despair. Addie wanders aimlessly for many years after Luke's death, unable to find joy or beauty in anything. She feels as though the world is meaningless without him, and she just wants to die. It is during this time that she meets Henry, a mysterious man who seems to know more about her than she is willing to admit. At first, Addie is wary of Henry, but eventually she opens up to him and tells him her story. Henry listens patiently, and when she is finished, he tells her that he understands what it's like to feel alone and forgotten. He reveals that he is immortal and has been searching for someone like Addie for centuries. Together, Addie and Henry form a deep bond. He helps her to see the beauty in the world once again, and she helps him to remember what it's like to be human. They travel the world, experiencing all that it has to offer, and they learn that the purpose of life is not to be immortal, but to be fully alive. Let's talk about characters. I loved Addie and Henry as individuals. Both of them are complex characters with their own strengths and weaknesses. We get to see how they grow and change over the course of the story, and how they impact each other's lives. Addie starts off as a naive young woman who is desperate to escape her small town and see the world. However, as she travels, she becomes more jaded and disillusioned. She begins to feel like a curse to those around her because she is never able to stay in one place for too long without causing chaos. This makes her feel unwanted and unloved, and she becomes convinced that she is destined for a life of loneliness. However, as the story progresses, Addie begins to see the beauty in the world. Once again, she finds joy in helping others, and she learns that the purpose of life is not to be immortal, but to be fully alive. Henry is a fascinating character because he is immortal. He's been alive for centuries, and he's seen the best and worst of humanity. However, his immortality has made him jaded and apathetic. He doesn't believe that anything matters, and he's given up on hope. However, when he meets Addie, he begins to remember what it's like to be human. She helps him to see the beauty in the world once again, and he begins to believe in hope and love. Overall, I think The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is a beautifully written story about the importance of living in the moment and appreciating the beauty in the world around us. I think Schwab did an excellent job of exploring the complexities of immortality and what it means to be human. If you're looking for a thought-provoking and emotionally resonant read, I highly recommend this book. It is a truly unique and unforgettable story that will stay with you long after you finish reading it. Now that we've talked about the characters and themes, let's discuss the writing style. Schwab's writing is lyrical and beautiful, and she creates a vivid and immersive world that you can really feel like you're a part of. The story is told in the third person, and we get to see things from Addie's point of view. This allows us to understand her thoughts and feelings, and it makes us care about her as a character. Schwab does an excellent job of building suspense and keeping you guessing what will happen next. The ending is particularly satisfying, and it's one that will stay with you long after you finish the book. Here's what I didn't like. Not much, to be honest. I thought the story was well-paced and the characters were well-developed. However, I will say that the ending was a bit predictable. I knew something was up with Henry from the very beginning, and I was right. But that didn't make the story any less enjoyable for me. I still found myself getting lost in the world Schwab created, and I was still invested in the characters and their relationships. If you like stories about strong female characters, magical realism, and stories about love and loss, then I think you'll enjoy this book. Overall, I give The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue a rating of 4 out of 5 stars. It is a beautifully written story that will stay with you long after you finish reading it. While the ending is a bit predictable, I think the story more than makes up for it with its strong characters, vivid setting, and thought-provoking themes. What are your thoughts on The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching and happy reading. Bye.